Today we're camping in one of the most beautiful spots in Colorado, right outside of Silverthorne. We've got mountain views, crystal clear water, stand-up paddleboarding, and of course, a cozy campfire for the evening. Let's get into it. Silverthorne is tucked into the heart of Summit County, which is just minutes from some of the best reservoirs, rivers, and hiking trails in Colorado. We found this perfect camping spot in South Fork Campground, which was surrounded by lots of pine trees and aspen trees and mountain peaks. It was fantastic. It was a great base camp for our camping trip, and it also wasn't busy at all. While we were at the campground, I spent some time getting water shots because there was a lovely river that flowed right next to the campground that we were in. When you're shooting water, it can be kind of tricky, but it can be a super rewarding subject too. If you want smooth, silky water movement, use a slower shutter speed, around a half a second to a few seconds. And always use a tripod. For reflections, shoot during golden hour or early in the morning when the light is soft and the water is calm. And don't forget to try using a polarizing filter. It can help cut glare, and it can also help make the colors pop. Another technique that you can do is to shoot with a fast shutter speed. Doing this allows you to effectively freeze the water in time, which can create pretty unique shots as well. Something else that I experimented with on this trip was just playing with the focus a little bit. So I would focus on something in the foreground and then make the background blurry, and that really helped to put focus on whatever was in the foreground, whatever was the subject of the photo. If you're going to do that, you want to make sure you have your camera set to a low f-stop, and then that should give you a nice blurry background. And that really helps to focus in on what is in the foreground, whether it's a tree or a rock or some nice flowers, whatever it may be. It really helps to bring the focus in on whatever the subject is, and then blurring out the background will really help you achieve that effect. Now on the flip side, you can also focus on whatever is in the background and then have the foreground blurry. And to do that, you just move your focus to the background and then keep your f-stop low, and that will help you have the background in focus and have the foreground be nice and blurry. I experimented with this quite a bit with some flowers overlooking the Gore Range, which is over by Vail, and I'm going to show you some of those pictures now. Just a little ways from our campground was Green Mountain Reservoir. It was a perfect place for us to get out onto the water. We had just bought stand-up paddleboards, and those are fantastic. They turned out to be one of our best purchases from the summer because we used them just all the time. But we had our stepdaughter Miranda with us and her husband Matt, and we wanted something that the four of us could do together, and we love being out on the water, so we decided to get some paddleboards and then take those out to Green Mountain Reservoir because it wasn't too far from our campground, and it was great. Green Mountain Reservoir is huge, it's massive, but you're surrounded by mountains, so it's very picturesque, and it also wasn't very busy. There are quite a few ways to get into the water, and we went almost all the way to the dam before we found a spot to get into the water. But if you're looking for a place to go paddleboarding, I would definitely recommend it. But make sure you take and wear a life vest. I can't tell you the number of times that we've seen people out paddleboarding without a life vest, or they have one, but they're not wearing it. And I can see that. I mean, that's a dangerous thing to do, no matter what reservoir you're on, or lake, no matter what the size is. But Green Mountain Reservoir is so large. Boy, if you were to get way out there and have a gust of wind kick up and knock you off your board, you could be sunk in just a matter of seconds. So if you go, make sure you take and wear a life vest. But being surrounded by the mountains was fantastic, and getting out onto the water was also just really great. Man, nothing beats floating with those mountain views in every direction. It was great. Pro tip though, if you're bringing camera gear or your phone, make sure it's sealed in a dry bag, because trust me, you don't want to test how waterproof your camera or phone really is. After a great day of exploring and paddleboarding, we got back to our campsite, and man, there is nothing better than winding down by the fire. Whether it's, roasting marshmallows, which you have to do anytime you have a campfire, right? Swapping stories, or just listening to the crackle of the flames, that is what camping is all about. That and just being with family. That was so great. I spent some time that evening getting shots of the fire. So I set my camera's shutter speed really high, and I just played around with getting shots of the fire, and it had the same effect. The high shutter speed had the same effect as it does when you shoot water. So it like freezes water in time. It did the same thing with the flames. When I was shooting the flames with the high shutter speed, it would like freeze the fire. It was so cool. This was also my first go at attempting to take some night shots, which went horribly, by the way. So bad. It was terrible. I had little to no experience shooting with night photography, so I just took my best guess at how to do it. And I'd watched a few videos on how to do it, but it'd been quite a while since I'd watched those, so I was just kind of guessing. That combined with the campfire really didn't amount to anything. I got a few shots, but they were pretty terrible. But I'm going to show them to you anyway, because that's all part of the learning process. Having failures is all part of the learning process. But some tips on nighttime photography if you're trying to get some good night shots. Don't do it by a campfire. Also, use a nice stable tripod, and then set your shutter speed for 15 to 20 seconds, and then you want to bump your ISO up pretty high, maybe around 3200 or something like that. But that should allow you to get some pretty great night shots. Anything longer than like 30 seconds, or maybe 20, maybe even 20 seconds, and you'll start to get some blur with the stars moving, which is a really cool effect, but if that's not what you're going for, then you probably don't want it. We had an incredible trip camping in Silverthorne. Just that campground was really fantastic, and there were literally only 2 other people in the whole campground the whole time we were there. It was fantastic. So if you're looking for a campground near Silverthorne, I would definitely recommend South Fork Campground. But also having Green Mountain Reservoir just right over the hill from the campground was great. And like I said before, you know, it's a great place to just camp, take lots of pictures if you're into photography. Paddleboarding is not very far away. Just soaking in everything that Colorado has to offer in this area. If you enjoyed this adventure, please make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about one of your favorite camping memories. Until next time, keep exploring.